morning, good evening, or good afternoon, depending on what side of the pond you're on, and welcome to an extra special edition of Across the Pitch. My name is Phil Kennedy, and I'm here with my co-host, Tony Robinson, where we welcome an extra special guest today, a forward who joined Accrington Stanley from Brackley Town during this off-season. Welcome to the show, Matt Lowe. We're very excited to have you on the show today. Thank you for joining us, Matt.
No worries. It's a pleasure to finally get this opportunity. I know we've been trying to do this for a few weeks now, and obviously the fact that I couldn't even give you the right number, that wasn't the best of starts, but we got there. We got there in the end.
Yeah, this is taken longer to arrange than some sequels in the movies. We were just to give. Matt, it's Tony, as we've spoken before, but just to sort of cover a bit of the history on this is we actually met in the lounge at after one of the, I think it was after the Cheltenham match, and you were talking to you were talking to Michael Nottingham, and I got to tell you, Phil, I walked over to these two gentlemen and I had to bend my head back looking at these two tall fellas. And when I said I was talking to Michael and he remembered coming on the show, and then I said to Matt, how would you be interested? And he was all up for it, and Matt gave us Michael gave us a glowing report from what I remember anyway. So
he did.
And then one thing after another is your surgery, and then I was ill, and then there was then you had another function. Anyway, long story short, we're here together. And so let's just jump into it. And now it's 2 months approximately since you had your surgery. Can you tell us like what the injury was, what surgery you had, and how the recovery is going?
Yeah. So it's I'll be here for a while if I tried to explain all the terms for the surgery. I should know this, being a PE teacher as my past job. I should know a little bit more of the anatomy of the body, but even a few of the words that they threw at me, it threw me off, to say the least. So I've kind of tried and put it as simple as I can. So pretty much from the start of the season, there was a slight hip issue where following on from the end of last season, where it just didn't recover kind of as it was meant to, and we didn't think anything too much of it at the time. We thought the bit of time rest from the end of last season to this season would have cleared it up, and so I went in first day of pre-season, and kind of for the first couple of weeks it was okay. The real trouble I was having was I haven't been able to strike through the ball since the start of the season, which obviously as a forward isn't ideal to say the least. But the rest of the stuff, running and functioning, it was okay, and I managed to get through and started relatively well. Managed to get a few goals in my first couple of games of pre-season, and unfortunately from that point it just gradually got worse and worse, to the point where I knew something was seriously not right. But for the sake of, you're at a new team, you get your dream opportunity of playing in League One, I kind of thought, you know what, I'm going to get through this for as much as I can. And I always said to the manager from the start that was kind of aware of it, I said, I'll play through it as long as I can, as long as I'm helping the team and benefiting people. So it kind of got to the point where maybe I think it was 7 or 8 games into the season, and I was playing very much at almost 70% of what I'm capable of, because I couldn't strike through the ball. I was struggling to run, and if I'm being honest, from like being my dream opportunity every day, it was a nightmare, because I was just constantly in pain. I knew I wasn't playing anywhere near the best levels that I'm capable of. So kind of had to make a decision where actually, which was really hard to kind of make, of right, we need to go and get it sorted now, because the way I was playing, I wasn't actually able to help the team, and in a way I was almost hindering it, because I couldn't play to the levels that I was usually capable of. So that was a really tough one to take, but I'm a very positive person, and I know now it's got sorted and the rehab is going really well, where I'm at 2 months, and if I continue to heal the way that I am, They said 6 months initially from the operation, but hopefully we're looking more towards March time because the recovery's been going really well. But long story short, the actual injury itself, it was where the ball and socket joint had been, there was bony parts that were sticking out that caused a lot of damage around the cartilage. So when I was saying from the start of the season, I felt like I couldn't strike through the ball. Basically, every time I was trying to do that shooting motion, it was something was catching because where the damage had been done to the ball and socket joint, and it just worn away the cartilage essentially. So we kind of didn't know the true extent of the damage.
So you were playing through the injury, and every time that you were taking a shot, it was essentially making the injury worse because it was tearing the cartilage more. Well, that just sounds painful. Yeah. I mean, that had to be brutal to play through.
Yeah, it was. It wasn't easy at all. And as I said, I've always loved playing football from a young age, and now getting the opportunity to go back and having it as your full-time job, it should be the happiest time of my life. But unfortunately, when you're trying to play for it and then you're in pain and 24/7, and look, there's lots of footballers that play for injuries and stuff, so it's part of the job. But when it gets to that point, as I said, when actually you're not benefiting the team and you know that it's the right thing to do is to get it sorted, and basically if I didn't get it done, then he was like, my career will end up finishing a lot earlier than hopefully I plan on playing till 30, 35, hopefully. So it's one of them where it's not ideal, but look, these things happen. You've got to be positive about it, and you just got to look at the bigger picture and hopefully come back stronger from it. So
you mentioned it would be, they told you would be around 6 months for recovery. Where are you at along that timeline now, Matt?
Yeah, so far it's actually, I've been really lucky. The physios have been brilliant with me, and it's actually going. I'm ahead of schedule essentially. So hopefully it's hard to put an exact date on it, but I've already started. Matty, one of our physios, that's been absolutely brilliant with me. He lets us use facilities at clubs that he's got contacts with. So I've had access to using Alter G treadmill. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that, but it basically takes a percentage of your body weight and it allows you to start running.
Wow.
So already that kind of stuff that you get access to is amazing because it puts you ahead of schedule. So hopefully within the next week, the next part we're going to try is just doing some running just on a treadmill without any help from the Alter G on the body weight, and see how that goes. But yeah, so far it's been really good, but I think a big help is when you're full time, you can focus on it 24/7, where you get to use these facilities and it could be your main priority. Whereas in my old last, if it happened last season while I'm trying to teach and play football and everything alongside it, it would have just been the recovery period would have been extensively longer. So yeah, really happy with how it's going so far. The physios and stuff and the surgeon all seem really happy. So just positive and can't wait to get back already.
So you're looking at hopefully some return in February, March time frame, or is that maybe too?
I hope in my head I'm kind of aiming towards. So they said from surgery, which was kind of mid-October, that it's 6 months. So at the start, the surgeon was a little bit, as they always, a little bit cautious. Like realistically, I think you'll be very lucky to play any football this season, which is obviously heartbreaking because I've never had I've been lucky, touch wood, over the past 5-6 years where I've been able to play 50 games a season and have no issues. So this for me has been it's been a real struggle, and it's a first. But yeah, I think hopefully the way things are going, they seem happy. If I can get back in March time towards and get at least a couple games in before the end of the season and help the team, and that's what I'm aiming for, really.
Well, and this is and you're one of numerous injuries that have sort of transpired throughout the season with the team, which I mean it's hard for a lot of the players, obviously, with the injuries, and the team seems to have turned the corner in the month of November. Obviously stop the goals against and winning the tight ones. Just from your point of view, how was, especially with this being your first season in League One, how was the mental aspect of the game from your point of view? How were you coping with that? Was there that an issue for you, or like you said, you are positive, but how did you cope with it?
Yeah, it's as I said, it's everyone's kind of dream to be playing at as high level as they're possibly capable of. So when you get a team like Accrington that comes along with its rich history and the opportunity to play in League One, it was a no-brainer to make that decision. It's just, mentally you go from that where I was at the start of the season really positive, can't wait to get going. The manager obviously showed a lot of faith in me, and actually when he gave me the number 9 shirt, which was obviously huge for me, a lad coming from non-league and where I'd probably played more of my career as a winger rather than a striker. It's hard because you almost feel like, although I didn't choose this injury, and it feels like you've kind of let people down that have showed a lot of faith in you, which is something that side I really struggled with. And almost, really, when you want to show everyone what you're capable of and you can't because of, unfortunately, an injury that's not allowing you to do that, I'd say that's probably been the toughest part of it. And a part of football is you're going to get critics, and the higher up you go, the more you're going to get. But rightly so, there's obviously at the start of the season questions over is he good enough for League One and all the rest from the fans, which you're going to get when, as I said, I can't perform to the levels that I'm usually capable of. But the thing with myself is one thing that I'll never do is doubt my own ability, and it's kind of, I've always lived by the saying of I don't need to prove anyone wrong. All I need to do is prove myself right, and the people that have took my family and friends that have obviously been a massive part of my career so far and journey and always there to support me. So I'm just looking forward to kind of getting back to my happy place of just going out there, playing football with no worries, and hopefully showing everyone what a good player I'm capable of being. So, well, positive.
Yeah, I was just going to say we saw when the time you played is that pace is a big part of your game, where you do a lot of pressuring and chasing down on their defenders. So with this injury, you weren't really running at full speed then, and I mean your pace was very noticeable. But so you think you'll be quicker when you're healed?
I'm hoping so. And as I said, he kind of when I went in there and the surgeon, after the scan and stuff like that, and he literally just said to me, like, how were you managing to play through what you were playing? Like, obviously the damage that was done to my hip was quite extensive, so he kind of said, like, fair play to you, but it's obviously in the long run, I don't think it's made it considerably worse. Luckily, we kind of got it at a time where he said, look, we can operate, and hopefully it can almost reverse the damage that's been done. It's very clever, like the technology, how they managed to work it, where they actually use some of the damaged parts and inject that back in, which helps with the healing process, which I found was pretty crazy when he was telling me about it. But in terms of my pace has obviously always been a real big part of my game, that I've always been quite rangy, quite off the cuff. And I love a big part that probably people haven't seen as much is how wild that I usually travel with the ball, and dribbling's a big part of it. And I know you don't do that as much as a centre forward, but these kind of things that are all having an effect. And when you're going out there mentally, it's tough because you're playing 3 leagues above, so you're going to be playing against better opposition and a lot better players. But when you're trying to do that, when you know you're nowhere near your best, it's almost like a mental side of it as well as actually physically being in pain. I was concentrating on, can I just get through the game? So you're kind of worrying about your injury, and then things that usually you just do naturally, you like your first touch and other things and stuff. It's kind of really hard to be focused. So yeah, it's, as I said, there's part of I've always I think it's helped me to develop into the character I am today, that I am just a very resilient person. I've had setbacks throughout my journey so far, and this is just hopefully another small blip in that, where usually when I do have a kind of major setback, some of my best football will come after that, and hopefully the comeback is stronger than the setback. But you've just, as I said, I think a lot of it is now at the age of 26. I'm a little bit older, a bit more mature. I think if this would have happened when I was probably 21, 22, when I was a little bit immature and naive, I think I would have struggled with it even more than I have done now. So I think, as I said, mentally, I think I'm quite resilient, and I know I'll get through it and come out the other side.
So now you spent 7 years with Brackley Town before coming over to Stanley, and you said you were also working part-time as a physical education teacher. So I mean, you've got to be a resilient guy to be able to do that for that many years. What was it like, juggling the football and work and all that for so many years?
Yeah, it was, if I'm being completely honest, not only is it amazing to have the opportunity to play full time, but as much as I love teaching, whenever I go home to my parents and we're having food or whatever, and I'll be moaning like, oh, these kids, like, they're misbehaving, they're doing this and that. And my parents always just turn around and just say, well, it's karma for how you were at school. So it's kind of... yeah, I think it's a little bit of, they quite enjoyed it actually, that I'm getting a little bit of my comeuppance. But no, I was lucky enough with my teaching that I worked as part of a fantastic PE department that I got on really well with. So it wasn't like what we had such a good time together. It was really enjoyable, but at the same time, they're long days. So you're working from 8 till 5. Minimum pretty much every day, and then especially on the nights when I have training on a Tuesday and Thursday, I'd leave my house at maybe 7:30 in the morning. I'd go to work, we'd be teaching throughout the day, you'd have an after school club, and then I'd literally quickly pop home. Luckily my mum would do a little bit of food for me, so I could walk in the door, eat my food, and then go straight to training, where I'd probably get back in my house at 10:30 at night. So the days weren't easy at all, if I'm being completely honest. But I think, as I said, I was lucky to have that support network where my mum could do some beans on toast or something before training, because if I didn't have that, I think it would have been even more of a struggle. But,
so after that many years of all of that struggle, it just had to have given you so much more appreciation to finally get that call to get to full-time league football.
Yeah, definitely. And I think when I was 19, when I used to be at Cambridge United, so I did a 2-year scholar there and 2-year pro. And when I came out of full-time football when I was 19, I found myself where I didn't really have any qualifications behind me. I was in a real difficult situation, and I was working at a friend's pub just to literally be making ends meet alongside being at Brackley. And it kind of just hit me a little bit like I'd never want to find myself in this situation again, because it was a really dark place for me, where in the local area where you are, people all think that, he's meant to be the next this and that, and then kind of almost taking the mick as they'd like walk in and like see me behind the bar serving a drink, which there's nothing wrong with it. As I said, a job is a job, but it was more that kind of like, oh, well, he was meant to be this and that, and now look. So that was tough to kind of deal with, but that's why I said to myself, right, I want to go and I want to get my education behind me. And my assistant manager at Brackley, someone called Matt Lowe, that he's been a massive part of my career, and he's also a very close family friend. And he worked at Coventry University, so he kind of guided me along the right route. And I went and got my degree behind me, and then my teacher qualification as well. So I think from that position, I kind of it in a way, although it was difficult, it was really good for me because I said, look, right, I want to go and get everything behind me now. And then if I get the opportunity to go back in full time and it's worth it and it all kind of adds up, then I'll do it. And I was the position while I was doing my degree a few times where I could have joined full-time clubs in my first year of my degree, second year of my degree and stuff. But I kind of always stuck to my guns and said, look, I want to get everything behind me. And if the right opportunity does come up at the right time, then obviously we go for it. And luckily I had a really good season last season.
You think that that's what caught Coley's eye was your numbers last year?
Yeah, I think it helped as well because he actually came to watch one of our games, and it was a game that I played really well in. And another people that played a big part as well is the Leamington manager that's got a really good relationship with Coley, and also the Southport manager that before kind of over the years you have a little bit to do with them, but you don't realise how much that they kind of, from people putting in good words and stuff like that, it does a lot for you. So yeah, I was really lucky, and as I said, the good thing about non-league is you build up some really good relationships with people, and you see the proper football in people that are really good people and want you to do well. So yeah, that also played a part, but it's.
Well, that's fantastic that you said he came out there and he had a good game. I mean, it's always great to have a good game where the right people are watching.
Oh, definitely. And as I said, football's all kind of, a lot of it does come down to luck and getting your break and your chance and stuff. And from last season, the numbers that I kind of hit over the years, I've made a good reputation for myself in non-league football, and lucky enough to win at Wembley at the FA Trophy in front of 30,000 fans and have my be selected for England C. So these are memories that I'll always hold very close to my heart, and having all my family and friends there, which is massive. So I think
what was it like playing for the England C team? Tell us a little bit about that. That's something we're going to ask you about anyway.
Yeah. It was after, I think it was maybe 2018. And I'd had a really good season. And usually a lot of the time, the lads that get selected for the England C team come from the National League. So the fact that I was playing in the National League North and still got selected for it was, which was brilliant. So before I got selected for the proper England C team, there was a fixture where it was at Luton. And it was against the Bedworth FA, and then it was like an England C XI. So basically, it was some of the lads that they'd obviously been looking at and stuff, and kind of just wanted to see play before they got selected for the England C team. So I turned up on the day, and it ended up being really good. But when he called out the team, so I was captain of the team, and it was a real honour to kind of walk out and play in that game. But
yeah, that's amazing.
I actually didn't start the game too well at all, and I was playing in centre midfield, and I got caught on the ball, and actually in midfield got caught on the ball, and they went on and scored, and I thought, oh no, like this is the last thing I need, like getting my opportunity, want to go and impress, and I've just kind of cost us the first goal. But luckily from that point, at that point, I wanted the ground to kind of swallow me up. But luckily I reacted in the right way and went on to have a really good game and helped us towards a 3-2 win. And kind of the manager said to me after, like, that shows a lot about the type of person you are, whereas someone before, they might have made a mistake and they'd have gone and hid, not wanted to get on the ball and kind of hid away from it. Whereas I kind of took it on the chin and still wanted to get on the ball, and luckily made things happen, and we ended up winning the game. So that was a really good experience. And then following on, I carried on and had a really good season at Brackley. We got to the playoff semi-final, unfortunately losing, but then got selected to play the England C in Estonia. So with that, again, it was a brilliant experience, although it was slightly hampered by the fact that in the playoff. It was the playoff semi-final game. I got a bad challenge quite early doors where I thought something, everyone knows their body and stuff, and something didn't quite feel right. And my knee slightly ajarred. So I think the adrenaline and the occasion managed to get me through to the end of the game, and unfortunately we lost. But then I received my call up for the game in Estonia, which was 3 weeks later than the playoff game I just played in. But unfortunately, I knew during that time I was trying to do little bits, and as it was getting closer and closer, literally the day before I was due to travel with the England C team and I was at the physio's house in his back garden, funnily enough, and trying to kick a football in the goal and stuff to see how it felt. And it was manageable, but I knew something wasn't quite right. So we went off and met all the lads and had a training session. And again, like I always do, I try and get through. It was such a big opportunity. I didn't want to miss out because potentially I might not have got called up again. And it's getting your England C, your shirt, your cap, and getting to represent your country at like non-league level, which was massive. So
that cap is something nobody can ever take away from you. That's huge.
Yeah. And everyone kind of says that to me and says, like, oh, it's such a good opportunity, but I thought I can't pull out like this. I might not get this opportunity again. I can't pull out. So I ended up going, and I knew something wasn't quite right, but while I still ended up traveling, and it got down to it, it was the night before the game, and I was due to start in the game. But it had been causing me agony in my knee, and it just something weren't right. So I went, and I had to pluck up the courage to go and speak to the manager and just said, look, like, Gaffer, there's something's not right. Like, I think I've done something, but at the same time, it's a massive opportunity and I don't want to miss out. And he just said, look, Matt, like, you need to look after your body. If something's not right, then he said, I know you're obviously you're keen, you come here, you want to get your cap and stuff like that. So he said, we'll bring you on the last 30 minutes of the game and just see how it feels, kind of thing. So I thought that was a really nice touch, because other managers in different situations would have been like, well, why have you travelled and all that kind of stuff. But he could see how much it meant to me, and he still wanted me to get that opportunity. So luckily came on the second half, so it came on with about 30 minutes to go. Unfortunately, we didn't win the game, but it was still a really good experience. And again, the team we played against, Estonia 23s, a lot of them had played for Estonia first team, so it was a good game. But yeah, it was disappointing to be on the losing end of it. But again, it was a really good experience, and met some great lads from it. So.
Yeah, it's a great story, and we're glad you enlightened us on that, because I know I saw that myself, and what a great opportunity, and something you can look back on. The one thing before we get into sort of the rapid fire questions, the one thing I wanted to just ask was, when you look at the history of John and Jimmy signing strikers from non-league that have sort of developed at the club and gone on to and going on to big and better things. You've got Charles Bishop, Jackson, and now Tommy's there. Did that put any more pressure on you to succeed, or was that more of a vote of confidence in that they saw something in you that, like, similar to what they saw in the other players?
Yeah, I think it's in a way, I think pressure can be looked at in different ways. But if you don't put yourself in a situation where you feel pressure, usually you're not if you want to be successful, unfortunately, pressure is just something that comes within that. And I think it's important because it's almost a sink or swim. So I think it's good. And some people like Colby that I've played against in the past when he was at Leamington, and now seeing him go on and doing so well at Portsmouth and stuff, everyone knows what a top player Colby is, and a top lad. So yeah, there was that element of pressure obviously coming in and kind of everyone knows what an amazing job Colby did, and he was the big focal point for the team, and kind of the pressure of getting the number 9 shirt after him. It's kind of like, cheers, some living up to do. But again, I wouldn't have gone into football if I didn't believe in myself, and also think that I'm basically that I'm good enough to be here. I'm good enough to do that job. So I think there is a pressure, and I'll always have pressure on myself. That's where I think the pressure comes from within, that I want to be successful in anything I do, and I'll work hard. I know how hard I'll work to make sure that I am successful. So I don't doubt for a minute that, again, I do look at this and think it's a little bit of a blip, but I know once I get myself back fit, I know how hard I work at. And again, it's still learning. And I think Jimmy kind of spoke about it in one of his interviews, about the fact that it's not like I've been a number 9 for like a long period of time. My only real experience of being a number 9 was last season, where I played half the games as a striker and then half the games as a winger. So so you're still learning on the job, and kind of I was looking forward to that, where the things you're going to be working on every day, you're finishing, your hold up play and stuff, and who better to learn from than the gaffer was brilliant with me. And obviously before I got injured, about just stuff back to goal, and a bit of advice he'd say is sometimes it's because I'm quick, I'm always on the move, but sometimes the key is to kind of stand still. So this is the type of people you want to be working with, and how they've gone on and developed players that are doing really well now. So I know I'm in good hands for when I get back. And as I said, I'm just looking forward to getting back on that training pitch. And I know how hard I've worked to get to the position I'm in now, but the hard work doesn't stop. It only just begins. And then we'll need to see, as I said, hopefully go on and achieve similar things to the people that have been there before me.
Well, before we finish talking about football, like we mentioned earlier, Tony does have some fun questions for you. This is it started off as just some like North England versus South England stuff, and has turned into our most popular segment, I think. So I'm just going to turn it over to Tony for the now world famous rapid fire.
Right.
You know what? I'm just looking out the window, and we've got a couple of wild turkeys in our backyard that have just landed in, and I got sidetracked. So they've got. Yeah. Sorry about that.
I've looked out the window at my apartment in Manchester. There's no turkeys. There's a lot of cold weather. I think there'll be a few snowmen probably, but no turkeys that I'm aware of.
These are good sized wild turkeys. They're just walking around the backyard. Anyway, okay, back to the show. Some fun questions. We'll start off with the easy ones. Mushy or garden peas?
Oh, garden for me. Not a massive fan of the mushy.
A red or brown sauce on your bacon sandwich?
Red, always.
Black pudding with your full English?
Oh, still need to try black pudding. Haven't managed to pluck up the courage to try it because someone told me what it was, but that is on my bucket list to try that.
Well, there's a cafe in Accrington on Stanley Street of all places, Cafe Rianne, and they do a nice full English. I've had it there, and you have the black pudding because it's if you're going to try it, that's a good place to give it a go. But
nice, I'll give it a try.
Yeah. On your chits, would you prefer gravy or curry?
Oh, tough question. I'm going gravy. I'm converted northerner, so I'm going with the gravy.
Well, if you do that and you have the black pudding, you'll get your honorary badge for being a northerner. Right. Do you have a favorite band or musician you like to listen to?
Oh, I'd say if you looked through my Apple Music, it's very broad. I've got a bit of everything in there. But I do like Cascabian. I think kind of more old school bands and stuff like that. I'd probably have to go with a bit of Cascabian.
That's
a new answer that we haven't had before for sure.
yeah, and that's a new band for me, not an old band, so shows my age.
Yeah. Rolling Stones.
Oh yeah, there you go. I know them, of course. Yeah.
We used to have a Beatles or Rolling Stones question.
Yeah, but it got too old. Yeah. Can you name two people, living or dead, that you would like to sit down and have dinner with?
Oh, great question. I would go for Nelson Mandela, just because everything he stands for, and I just think, as I say, he's a proper inspiration, and I love that film Invictus, that's based around his story. So I'd say Nelson Mandela, and I'd also go for maybe Peter Kay, just because I think he's hilarious, and I think
a Bolton fella.
It'd be good value for money, and we could share a bowl of chips and gravy. So it'd be I feel like we'd get on.
Oh well, if you had dinner with Peter Kay at the end, you would be definitely a northerner.
Yeah, so converted. Not a bad two.
No, that's a great combination, and I'd be interested to listen to that one, because you got Nelson Mandela, and then you got Peter Kay trying to crack him up with jokes. That would be priceless.
Yeah. I think it'd be an interesting combination, but I just think it would work. Just like chips and gravy.
Yes, there you go.
It just works.
Yeah. Who has the best sense of humor on the team, either in the players or coaching staff?
Oh, the coaches would definitely say themselves, but 100% I'd say it's the players for me. They are Jimmy and the gaffer. They do come out with a few good ones, but a lot of it their banter's like kind of scouse banter and stuff. So it usually loses half the team when they start.
So which player has the best sense of humor? Which one? Who do you think's has the best sense of humor?
I'm gonna go, and this will probably be a bit of a surprising one, but the skip, Seamus, he's kind of like, his jokes, I just love them because they're kind of like old dad banter jokes, and he's got a really he's like quite witty with his the things he comes out with. But I'm lucky enough to sit close to him in the changing room, so his little one-liners I think are brilliant. So Seamus
is a good guy. Yeah, we've had him on the show. He's one thing I had to laugh. A recent interview he did is he's talking about his kid growing up having an East Lancashire twang, and him being from Ireland. So I thought that was kind of it. Just again, Phil, it shows you are what you're the environment you're in. That's what shapes you. I'm going to just test. Last question for me, Phil. I just want to test Matt's knowledge on North American sports. And this is you just tell me which one of these teams is a basketball team. Okay. The three choices are Chicago Bears, Chicago Bulls, or Chicago Cubs. Which is the basketball team?
I actually think any other question, I would not have a clue. But I did in my younger days, when I used to think I could pull off the vest. I did have a Chicago Bulls vest, so I'm hoping that is the correct answer.
Well done. Excellent. Well done. That's it for me, Phil. Back over to you. Thanks for doing that, Matt. That was good.
No,
absolutely. That's always a lot of fun. And to kind of get back to football, one of the things, and we've talked about this a little bit already in some of the other questions, but what are some of the biggest differences between League One and non-league that you found, especially like during the preseason and whatnot?
I think a lot of it is in terms of what obviously plays a massive part in football is teams' budgets. So some of the teams in our league, the amount of kind of money and the facilities that they have and stuff is it's difficult to compete with. But again, that's what Accrington every year, and we know we don't have the hugest budget and stuff, and a lot of the success in the past is down to just really having not only good players and good staff and coaches and everything like that, but having good people. There's a real togetherness with the squad. And I think that plays a massive part, really. And in terms of, I'd say the thing that I quite like is, although it's professional and the lads know that when it's time to work and stuff in terms of training, everyone goes out there, gives 100%, and the standards are good. It's nice because it's more of a relaxed environment where actually people do just genuinely, it's like going to work with your mates and having a good time and enjoying yourself. And as I said, it's getting that balance right of when you step over that line, everyone's focused on getting the 3 points and getting to where you want to be in the at the end of the season. But I think, a big part of it is just kind of like how you prepare for games. So pretty much every away game, you'll like travel down the night before, you're staying in hotels, you've got your pre-match and everything sorted for you, which helps you to kind of just allows you to focus on the football.
And you probably get into where you see some really big teams like a Sheffield Wednesday or even a Portsmouth. That's got to be a big thing to go into some of those stadiums.
Oh yeah, and again that makes it even harder. That I was so looking forward to playing at these stadiums and stuff, and unfortunately haven't really had the opportunity to do that. Played Ipswich at home, which is kind of like a standout, which was really good. But yeah, hopefully, as I said, there's a couple that are towards the end of the season that I do have an eye on, and Portsmouth towards the end of the season is definitely something that I would hopefully be looking forward to if I can get myself back in time. So it's hard because
that's turned into a bit of a thing. It seems like Portsmouth and Stanley always meet up right at the end of the season. It always seems like it's an important game for one team or the other. So that's got to be an interesting kind of League One rivalry, if you will.
No, of course, and it's as I said, Portsmouth. It's a massive club, and it's a team that have obviously got such good players and facilities and everything else that they're always going to be right up there at the end of the season. So for us, as I said, the most important thing, we just want to compete as well as we can against these teams, and we'll always have our own kind of targets that we want to aim for as a squad. But we don't kind of fear these teams, and the good thing is every team we play against, we go at them, give 100%, we get in their faces, we make it difficult for them. And yeah, again, that's probably a big part of why the team and club's been so successful over a number of years.
Yeah, there is some rivalries that are building up, and it always seems to be, I think Portsmouth are up this weekend, and the weather forecast is I guess not the best because you got some cold weather. Hopefully the match will proceed, but it's one of those things you've got to be conscious of the distance they got to travel to come up, and hopefully you get the match in. One of the things that is sort of being, it's been mentioned in social media and with interviews with John Coleman, and the fact that you're having a good cup run and there might be some funds available. There's some sort of mention or talk about possibly bringing in a striker in the January window. And I mean, how does that play on your mind? Does that drive you to push yourself, and that desire to succeed more if you hear that talk, and John Coleman has also said that if nobody comes in, he's going to go with existing players. How do you respond when you hear things like that?
Yeah, it's as a football is a very cutthroat business. So you kind of, I think the most important thing is the team. You want the team to be successful. So if you can't be in there and helping the team to be successful, then I know obviously there's other players that are fit, but the striker position has been something where unfortunately we have struggled with injuries this season. But no, the most important thing is, and look, competition's good for everyone. So I'd never be one of them people that be like, oh, well, that's it, I'm done. You know what I mean? You just have to get on with it, and just even more so prove your worth when you get back. And again, I think it's, as I said, you want the team to be successful and stuff like that. So bringing in a recognised striker, hopefully, that will allow us to build on. And in terms of what he's looking to bring in as a target man, I wouldn't necessarily say that is me, that I'm the way I play and stuff like that. I've never necessarily would class myself as a target man. So who knows, you might get the opportunity to play alongside that player when you do get back. But as I said, I don't really care where I'm playing, as long as I'm in the team and I'm playing well and stuff like that. You've got to be adaptable, and I think that's a good thing about my game, that I can play anywhere along the front three and also as a kind of attacking midfielder. So I think competition's good for everyone. So I'd never be one of them people that looks at it and kind of as a negative. I relish the opportunity of challenge, and as I said, you've just got to, as long as you believe in your own ability, then I think, as I said, it will kind of, everything will work out as it's meant to. But as long as it helps the team to be successful, that's the most important thing that I care about, really.
Yeah, and about, it would be almost a month ago now, where there was a meeting on the Sunday with the players and the coaching staff, and that seemed to be and turning in the month of November in that meeting, that seemed to be a sort of a turning point in the team, in the sense that defensively the team has improved dramatically, and you're getting some some goals, not a lot of goals, but you're getting goals that are important to get some results. How important was that meeting to sort of, for lack of better words, clear the air?
Yeah, it's and it was during a time where actually it was because it was so close to my surgery. I was actually at home at the time doing my recovery at home, and where I could, because this is when I was on crutches and stuff. So unfortunately, I couldn't actually be there. But from listening to what the lads said and the conversations about, kind of, it was really hit home in terms of people saying stuff like, "Look, like this is our livelihood," and everyone knows, in terms of, no one likes to bring it up, but the facing the potential of relegation and being in the relegation zone, it's our kind of livelihood at stake, and people saying things that hit home, like, look, this might be a discussion whether I can afford to have another kid, because if we get relegated, then everyone knows, in terms of the wages and stuff like that, will go down. So it's stuff that really, really kind of hit home, actually, from the meeting. I think it was a really powerful thing to have. And from that meeting, the lads have all reacted in the right way. And hence why now we've got ourselves on a good run and people are in a good place. We've got that confidence back as a team. But I can, even when you're not playing, you still see it from the sides, and you still know every single one of them players is given 100% every day, and there's no big time Charlies or anything. They're all great lads before being obviously good footballers as well. So everyone's in it together, and we've got that mentality of we know that we'll be successful as a group. It's just about keeping that confidence, and there'll be parts where it's, in football, you're going to have bad spells and good spells and stuff, but it's just important to not get too carried away with the ups and then get too negative about the downs. You just kind of got to keep that nice balance in order to be successful.
Well, and yeah, you're obviously on the right track there with that, with those comments. One of the things that, as you know, with Accrington, it's situated in a hotbed of football area with Blackburn and Burnley on either side, and the stadium, it's a small stadium, and with the facilities where I met you in are obviously new this year and the such, and they can do events like one you were at there just recently, where it was the sponsors and the season ticket people had a player and a meeting or dinner where everybody got together. How important is that from a player's point of view, and how important is that to the team?
Yeah, as I said, I think it's really important because it doesn't just shut it. A lot of clubs that probably doesn't happen as much, where actually you get to sit down and have a conversation, and you can see with these fans actually how much it means to them, which is obviously huge. And I think that I think nights like that, see what people are getting out of it in terms of the people that I sat on a table with, Harvey and two elderly couples, and they were brilliant, and they were just telling us all about their stories and their relation with Accrington and what it means to them and stuff. And I think with stuff like that, it really hits home that how lucky we are to be in that position and going out there and representing them, and the new facilities that like College Bar and stuff like that. It's just amazing to see. So the thing that I really like is about Accrington is the same at Brackley, really, where actually it's like a family run club where everyone's together, and you see actually how much it means to people. So yeah, that's definitely a big part of something that's I'm holding close to myself, that motivation driving me forward, that hopefully, as I said, I can show all them fans what I'm capable of when I'm fully fit, and hopefully helping the team and scoring goals.
Yeah, you're obviously, this has been sort of a year for you after signing in the summer. How long is your contract for, Matt?
So it's two years with a 1 year option. So there's still it, which will, sorry.
No, I was just going to say, so next year, really, when you come back fully recovered, fully fit, it's a big season for you.
Definitely, and it's huge. Like every year is with football, and the thing is, you should never take it for granted because it is a short-lived career. Where I know lots of people that have had injuries that unfortunately they haven't come back from. So the good thing is that although I'm obviously gutted because I've never really had an injury and it came at the worst time, I'm lucky enough to know that I will recover from this, and if I carry on the way I'm going and do everything right, then I'll come back stronger from it. So yeah, as I said, there's always that element of pressure and next season, and even hopefully, as I said, I want to play some games towards the end of the season and then really focus on next year doing well for myself and the club. And you put yourself in this situation of pressure. I could have played it easy and had a good career as a teacher, and I know how loved I was at Brackley, and kind of hopefully we could have gone on to be like a Brackley Legends and stuff like that. But I think it's all about putting yourself out of your comfort zone, and really I'm one of them people that I'm always hungry for more and want to be as successful as I can. So although at this minute in time it's not that it hasn't worked out, unfortunately, it's just injuries happen, it's part of football, but there's no point worrying about it and going over it and stuff. The past is the past. I'm one of them that likes to focus on the present and the future. So yeah, it's a little, as I said, you're gonna have these little tough times, but I know the best is yet to come. So
yeah, sorry, Phil, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, we have absolutely no doubt that you're going to come back stronger than ever, and you're going to do some good things. And I was just looking at the schedule, and even if you make it back by April, there are some big road trips left. April 1st at Bolton, April 10th at Sheffield Wednesday. Of course, the Portsmouth match is the third to the last match of the season. And then you finish up the season at Oxford. So, I mean, those are all some big games against really tough opponents, big teams, and hopefully we can see you out there for those.
Yeah, and as I said, there's no better motivation than what you've just said right there, the kind of teams that you can hopefully have the opportunity to play for. So that will be something driving me on and driving my injury and making sure that I get back as quick as possible.
Well, we just want to thank you for taking the time today, and I know it's been a while, sort of getting together, but these things happen. Again, like same with your injury, these things happen, and you just move on and move forward. And we wish you all the best in your recovery, and looking forward to seeing you back on the pitch before the end of the season. And I've already got my flights booked for next August for a couple of months, and I come over to see some games. So I'm looking forward to not only watching you play, but meeting up with you afterwards in the lounge and having a chat. And I wish you all the best, and looking forward to seeing you in person again next season. Yeah, and thank you so much for giving me this time as well. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I know it took us a while to get here, but hopefully it's been worth the wait, and I haven't bored everyone too much. So it's been great. It's been great. I think your insight has been terrific. So thanks from me. I'll let Phil wrap it up, but thanks for doing this.
Yeah, thank you so much, Matt. We really appreciate it, and it's been great having you on the show and hearing about your life and your career up until Accrington. And I know that it's been a bump in the road for you to have this injury, to say the least. But like we said earlier, and like you said earlier, it's just a matter of one of those things that happens in football. And what's going to happen is you're going to come back. You're going to have a good end of this season. You're going to find the back of the net a few times. And then when next year, when Tony is over there, you're going to be back to 100%. And I just see nothing but bright things in the future for you. And, we will be rooting you on, whether it's with Accrington Stanley or any other club that your career takes you to. Yeah, very much. Well, hopefully we get to catch up next season after scoring a few goals, helping the team and being successful. So no, thanks for giving me this time, and I look forward to speaking to you guys soon. Absolutely. We'll have to do this again in the future, and we like to finish up with an on Stanley on. So if everybody's ready on 3, 1, 2, 3, on Stanley on! Brilliant. Love it. Right. See you soon, guys. Bye-bye. Cheers.